Hey, this is Charles Onyett with IGN. I'm here with Anthony Gallegos.
Hello.
And we are taking a look at the debut cinematic trailer for Dishonored. This is a first-person sort of stealth action game from Arkane Studios, although Bethesda is publishing. It's not an internal Bethesda game. It is made by Arkane, and Arkane's history is with Arx Fatalis and Dark Messiah of Might and Magic. It's been quite a while since we've seen an original game come out of Arkane.
Almost, I want to say, getting on like over 6 years or something now. So.
Yeah, and they've helped out on a number of projects, but haven't actually produced an internal game. So this will be their next project. We're not going to see any actual gameplay footage in here, but we are going to get a sense of the gameplay as well as a bit of the story setup. This is the main character you see here, Corvo. It's a nice facial expression there. I guess he's a little bit surprised because he's been framed for murder. He used to protect an empress in this fictional world, has been framed for her death, and here you see him in prison with the rat. There's a little bit of a plague going on in this city of Dunwall. The rats actually factor into gameplay later on, but we see him being freed here by a mysterious figure who kind of appears on the outside of the bars. This guy is known as the Outsider. And it's not known all of the details about him, but the way Arkane describes him is basically God and the devil rolled into one. There you can see he kind of did a magic act where he just kind of went directly through the bars. Corvo is surprised.
I take it it's one of those characters we're going to learn a lot more about as the game goes on, obviously.
Yeah, he seems like a very important character, and his role here is basically to give Corvo magical powers, because this world does have a realistic feel to it, but there are also quite a few magical abilities. You can see the seal being branded on his hand there. It's not known entirely what the motivations are for the Outsider giving Corvo powers, although it seems like he basically just wants to see what Corvo will do with those powers.
Yeah, he almost reminds me of like Q from Star Trek, where he just kind of likes to see what will happen when he kind of comes in and gives the option for chaos.
Yeah, so I mean, Corvo could do something awesome, could do something terrible. Here we see Dunwall. It is a fishing town. It is built on 1940s style London, but it is not London. This is an entirely fictional universe. It is not Earth.
Some crazy steel boat in the background.
Yeah, you can see the whale back there. A little bit of a City 17 feel, which makes sense because Victor Antonov, who actually helped design Half-Life 2, is working on this project under Bethesda. So that's where you see some of this. Obviously, not some great things going on. You can see a stack of bodies over on the side. A bunch of rats running around.
It has a very sort of like 19th century Britain feel with the Black Plague. I don't know. Something.
Yeah, it's kind of the antiquated style, but also has sci-fi steampunk elements. What you see step in actually back here is a tall boy, that leg, which you'll see a little bit more of coming up later in the trailer. You can see a very distinct art style throughout the city. They did a lot of on-location research in London for designing what this town looks like.
Yeah, it's interesting. It has a very World War II style feel to it, but like...
Yeah, there's a tall boy actually coming into the scene there. You can see a oppressed population. Nobody here is particularly happy about what's going on, and here we see the official forces, the tall boy, coming over and using his crazy flame arrows. There you can see the sci-fi elements in his backpack, obviously weird energy sources and things like that. And I believe we actually see a gate coming up here.
The technology definitely has that sort of vibe of like a 50s idea of sci-fi too. Like the way the walkers walk around, it feels very War of the Worlds, and that feels very War of the Worlds.
Yeah, those gates you'll find around in the environments, those will actually be hackable. The way this game is set up is it's not an open world game, it is a mission-based game. But there we see a character that you'll eventually run into. But it's a mission-based game, but within each mission you'll have the freedom to accomplish goals however you want. So here we see Corvo up on top of a tower, and he has a lot of stealth abilities. He's very athletic, apparently, and can hop around rooftops. So you don't necessarily need to take the stealth approach that he's doing here, which is running around hidden and things like that. But you can if you want to. You can develop your character in a number of different ways. So it has kind of role-playing elements in that sense, in that every character who plays this game will not necessarily have the same skill build. So you can do things like hide in the shadows. Guard's awareness is dependent on light levels, on sight and sound, and then if you can sneak up on someone, you can see Corvo's little blade here. there on the side of the screen that he'll use regardless of your build. But yeah, if you can position yourself directly above someone like this, you can do these instant drops. And this isn't just a cinematic kill for the purposes of this trailer. That actually happens in-game. You can do that move in-game.
And the first-person movement system is also an important part of the game as well, right? Kind of like the free-running aspect of it.
Well, you'll have abilities that allow you to traverse areas a lot more quickly, and it's not just going to be a direct line to your targets either. Like, in situations like this, you could explore around the buildings, you could explore around the rooftops and find all sorts of hidden items that help you power up your character, give you stat bonuses and stuff like that. So it's definitely worth exploring within the smaller mission structures. Here we see, this is another gameplay mechanic. This isn't just for effect, peeking through the keyhole and listening to NPCs talk. You'll get hints about what some of the other things you can do during gameplay are by sort of eavesdropping on conversations like this. Obviously, you don't do a great job of peeking here because they see you, but you see a little bit of the magic ability where he blasts the door open with a wind blast and then comes in. And this doesn't show, obviously, live gameplay, but during gameplay, when you're in sword fights like this, you will be able to counterattack and stuff like that and parry. So there is a bit of a sword fighting system there. It's very gory in-game as well, so the amount of blood that you're seeing here definitely transitions to the in-game experience.
Corvo has a lot of powers that remind me of a Jedi, even. The way he can slow time, he can blast doors.
Yeah, he does kind of have, it sort of has force powers. Yeah, you see here you have a stop time. So he stops time and then is basically shooting out these small arrows and aiming them at each enemy, so that when time resumes, it will knock them all out. You'll see in a second here. But yeah, it'll knock them all out simultaneously. Certainly helpful against larger groups of foes. What Arkane has said you can also do is basically reposition things while you're in stop time. So if somebody shoots you or shoots at you, you stop time, you can then reposition the body almost so that he hits himself with his own bullet. Which is pretty cool. And also, I mean, there is a stealth system, so if you're trying to be really stealthy, if you're not going for this really high-profile approach as you go to your assassination targets and things like that, you can drag bodies around, stuff like that, which a lot of people who have played stealth games before will be used to. But yeah, you can hide bodies out of sight so people don't realize that you're actually there. And what we see here in this escape is another power. That is a teleport ability that you can use a lot, actually, during in-game. I believe it's a fairly low resource cost, so you can use that fairly frequently to hop between areas of shadow, to get around enemies, and also to get up to higher ledges and things like that, so you can crawl across areas that would otherwise be impassable. And then he just falls to the ground here. The rats, too, which you see throughout the trailer, you don't see any summoning in this video, but you can actually take possession of bodies of animals and travel around in them. The downside...
Do you use them for like spying or that sort of mechanic?
Yeah, so you use them for spying, you use them for infiltrating buildings, and perhaps to get around a little more challenging encounters like this, where you've got two tall boys about to shoot at you. Now, when they do shoot those arrows, you have a wind blast power that will actually knock those arrows back at them, so that's one way to approach this combat scenario, since obviously they're kind of standing way up there, so it's a little more difficult to hit them with a sword attack. But yeah, a lot of interesting mechanics, a lot of cool ways to develop your character. Dishonored, it looks great. It's sort of a throwback gameplay style to an older style of PC title. It's supposed to come out in 2012 for PS3, 360, and PC. So we're looking forward to seeing more, and especially some gameplay footage whenever that rolls around. And for more on Dishonored, you can check out IGN.com.